Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, silver shamrock. Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, silver shamrock.
It's almost time, kids. The clock is ticking. Be in front of your TV sets for the horror-thon. And remember the big giveaway at 9. Don't miss it. And don't forget to wear your masks. The clock is ticking. It's almost time.
Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, silver shamrock. Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, silver shamrock.
You don't really know much about Halloween.
Witchcraft.
The last great one took place 3,000 years ago when the hills ran red. Halloween. The dead might be looking in.
Stop it!
The world's going to change tonight, Doctor. Happy Halloween.
Halloween 3. Season of the Witch. The night no one comes home. Rated R. Now playing at a theater near you.
We're going to expand our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store. Back where it says horror videos and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
From the prime time, bitch!
Long live the new Fletch.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal. We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to the It Slays podcast. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
It's Exilia.
It's a cheap motel paperback mic.
And last but not least, it's me, Colton.
We are back, and we are all here to celebrate this glorious, well, you'll be listening to this on Halloween Day, but it is Wednesday, October 27th. And we should mention that while we talk about the film we're doing tonight, which is Halloween 3, we continue our tradition of doing a Halloween movie on Halloween.
Groundbreaking, really.
Never been done before.
What is groundbreaking is it is Wednesday, October 27th, and our days line up with this movie.
I know. I noticed when we watched it. It was great.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty unique. So this episode is gonna come out on Sunday the 31st, and in the movie, Halloween is Sunday the 31st. So
4 more days till Halloween.
4 more
Silver
days till
Shamrock.
Halloween.
Exilia will now sing the song for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So Halloween 3, 1982, directed by Mr. Tommy Lee Wallace, who, did Fright Night 2. He did an episode of the It miniseries. I think that's really his notables. But before we get into it, we have to ask a Halloween question. Real spooky business.
Ooh.
Which isn't, spooky whatsoever. But I figured, everyone's probably getting ready when you're listening to this, getting dressed, getting ready to take your kids trick-or-treating, or maybe just yourself trick-or-treating and show people how lame of an adult you are. So I want to know your guys' memorable, funniest, or most embarrassing Halloween costume story. Simply just maybe something you dressed up as that you're like, oh my god, that looked terrible now that I reflect on it. I'm gonna make Colton start this time.
Yeah, my Halloween costumes were like awful throughout the years. Like obviously I did like the Heath Ledger Joker, and I did like the bloody ghost face mask that everyone had at like their local I don't know,
I remember those
Superstore or whatever,
masks.
with the pump in it that you just pump the blood through it.
Yeah.
I did that, but most of the time growing up, it was always just thrown together last minute, my Halloween costumes. The one that is definitely the most embarrassing is, I think when I was like 14 or 15, like I was going through an emo phase, so I did have like my hair dyed black and stuff, and I was wearing like my Bullet for My Valentine tees and, you know, stuff like that. My black jeans, and I went as an emo kid for Halloween, but like I wore like my mom's jeans, so they were like super skin tight and stuff, and like I did like all the guy liner and the black nails and all that stuff, like really like took it up a notch. And there's not too many pictures, I don't think, of that night on Halloween, but that was probably the most embarrassing because I had a hard time just walking from house to house or running from house to house because the jeans were so tight. Yeah, I don't know. It's not. I think that's probably the most embarrassing one I can think of off the top of my head. Other than just like, I don't know, showing up to school and being like, I don't know what I am. I got a weird, you know, afro on and like, I don't know, a prosthetic on my arm that keeps falling off or some shit. So
I'm assuming you just weren't able to get any pictures last year of this costume.
Oh, of course, yeah. I'm still going out, pushing 30, still going out every year, yeah, just to get some free candy.
Still rocking your emo phase.
Oh yeah, for sure.
How about you, Exilia?
I can't really think of like any embarrassing ones, more or less. I do have a memorable one. So when I was growing up, my mom always made my Halloween costume from like, she'd like sew it and stuff. And I can't even remember what grade I was in. I was probably in elementary. I was a dead bride, and like I wore like her veil from her wedding and like a fucking like white fur coat, and I had like white makeup on and I don't know, black tears coming down my face, and we had an old
Mike's face right now.
No, I was a dead bride. And so
I think it's an awesome
No, sorry.
Yeah.
And so we had like this old mall here at the time, and there was a Halloween competition, so we basically had to have like numbers on our back, like it was a fucking like race or something. And we walked around the whole mall, and people would like stand there and judge like the best costumes, and I won best costume number 1, and I got a plug-in pumpkin for my outdoors.
I like how all I thought was, I just thought at first people just stood there and judged you guys in general.
Just morally.
No, that was when I was trick-or-treating. Everyone was judging me.
That was Mike, that entire story.
I'll post a picture of the outfit. I'm sure I still have it.
All right, you're up, Mike.
I don't know. I feel like most of them were pretty embarrassing, but one in particular that jumps out at me is, excuse me, was when I was in high school, and I was so fucking lazy that I took an old bed sheet, but it wasn't even like a white bed sheet. It was one that was like light green with white flowers on it, and just cut holes in it and put it over my head. But to secure it to my head, because it kept sliding, I took this like necklace that I, bought at one of the clothing stores in the mall, and like put it around my neck on the outside, so I looked like one of those, Halloween crafts you make in like elementary school, where you like put a tissue over a ball, and taught.
Oh my god.
And then I called myself Slimer because I was green.
Green, yeah. That's great.
That's awesome.
One time, in the first year of university, we went out. Do you remember the time we went out to that Halloween dance? But I was under 19, so we went to like a dance at my university, and I didn't even consider dressing up until like an hour before leaving. So I put on a toga, but it was like a sage color fucking like bed sheet, because that's all I had.
Togas have been saving procrastinators on Halloween forever.
Since the Roman
Centuries,
Empire.
really.
Centuries. All right. Well, my story is always a go-to.
Rowan's traumatized.
Rowan's
story is traumatized.
Will automatically trump everyone. So, when I was in, I think, like, grade 5 or 6, for, like, the Halloween season, school would do this thing where, we go skating, like, skating would have already started, and you do, like, a dress-up skate, so you'd wear your Halloween costume, and then we'd all go to the rink and you'd skate. So,
Okay.
As you do.
And, jeez, this is embarrassing. So basically, at this time, The Mask had come out, and, and so I wanted to be The Mask. So my mom and my grandparents, like, got me, like, a brimmed hat and a jacket, but they were, like, just, like, normal color. So they, like, painted them, but I think they just used, like, normal paint to try to make them, like, the yellow
I didn't know they
outfit.
painted your clothes.
Yeah. And anyway, it was, like, a dark jacket, so not only did it look terrible, but it turned out, like, just, like, this disgusting, like, color. It wasn't even yellow. It was just, like, yellow toll paint on a, like, black jacket and hat.
Not toll paint.
But the piece de resistance is that I'm The Mask. How are people gonna know I'm The Mask? I don't have, like, an actual mask or anything. So I painted my entire face and my hands and arms green, which also really didn't turn out green. It was more of like a sickly yellow. So then I go to school and find out that actually that day isn't the day we're going skating. So,
oh my god.
So I show up to school in full body paint and this costume, and no one else is dressed up.
I want to throw myself into traffic now on behalf of you.
The secondhand embarrassment is just
it's
That's like so traumatic. Like you're still working through that with your therapist, I'd say. Like, jeez.
So
yeah, that's like something you'd have a recovered memory of years later.
Yeah.
So basically I had to go the entire school day in this body paint and stuff. And also like being a kid and embarrassed, I like had to lie about it. So I told everyone like, "Oh, I just wanted to dress up today."
I'm laughing with you, not
yeah,
with you.
Sure.
I can't believe you just didn't.
You.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't believe you just didn't show up to school and be like, "Nope," and turned around and left.
Yeah,
like I would not have sat there all day. That's torture.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure like the day that skating was, I didn't go as that. So.
Oh my god.
I was gonna say, did you actually like do it after?
Yeah, no, I don't think
show
so.
up twice.
Trying to save
Skating was
face or
probably
mask, if you will.
He showed up in the ghost-faced bloody pump mask instead for
That's
skating.
right. Those were the best. So yeah, hopefully everyone listening to this is like, man, my life is not embarrassing compared to these guys. But if you're ever,
I wish we had a picture of that.
I know. Maybe I'll try to find a picture. I'm sure there's got to be a picture somewhere of me in full paint. But yeah, no. If you're listening to this episode at any point, even if it's like 3 years from now, you should just inbox us your embarrassing stories so
Yeah.
we can laugh at them.
That's nice. Just
laugh with you.
Just personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't read them on the air or anything. We'll just laugh at you.
We'll be laughing.
We'll just do a group chat and, you know. Just...
We'll be laughing with you, and then you guys can imagine, just like I did while I told my story, the face that Mike was making of judgment and shock and shade, the shade brigade.
It has to be. There's no choice.
I think it's time, you know, we're in the Halloween mood. Let's get into the main event. Some Halloween 3. The what some claim to be the greatest Michael Myers film of all time, I think.
Oh, he's great in this one. Yeah.
I mean, I think he is. I think he's fantastic.
He's so thin. Like you can't even see him.
So let's get into the letterbox bio. I'll do the honors for this one. Oh, this is like a meaty one this evening.
Yeah, you're basically just reading the whole plot, so take a deep breath.
The night no one came home. Dr. Daniel Chalice and Ellie Grimbridge stumble onto a gruesome murder scheme when Ellie's novelty salesman father, Harry, is killed while in possession of a Halloween mask made by the Silver Shamrock Mask Company. The company's owner, Connell Cochran, it's a terrible name.
Colonel Cochran?
Is it Colonel
Let's see.
Cochran?
No, it's Connell. No,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
Connell
Connell.
Cochran. Yeah.
Connell.
That's a terrible name.
If I know anyone that names their kid Connell, they deserve a punch in the throat. So, Connell Cochran wants to return Halloween to its darker roots using his masks, and his unspeakable scheme would unleash death and destruction across the country. So, we know where we're gonna start. Our first experiences. Is this the first time you have seen it? Let's start with you, Sir Michael.
Well, this is not my first time. I've seen it a few times over the years. Honestly, it is probably one of the ones in the series that I've watched the least. Not because, I hate it or anything. It just, when you're in the mood for, like, a Halloween movie, you're in the mood for, like, a slasher movie. I saw it, like, for the first time a million years ago when me and my troublemaker friend used to babysit her little sisters when her parents would go out. I don't even know where. I guess they had a very healthy social life at night, and they'd leave the kids with us. And so we'd always show them horror movies, and this was one of them. And then we would torture them for years afterwards by singing, 3 More Days Till Halloween whenever it was dark out. So... yeah.
So, how about you, Colton?
I've seen this movie a couple of times. The first time was probably 2 or 3 years ago. I have a weekly horror movie night with a couple of friends, and we call it Monster Movie Mondays, but I mean, as time has gone on, it's slipped from a weekly horror night to every 2 or 3 weeks, and it's no longer on Mondays. But yeah, the first time, I think this was our very first pick, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and yeah, so this is my second or third time seeing it. Obviously, going into it, I knew Michael Myers wasn't in the movie, so I had a set of expectations. I knew it wasn't like the other Halloween movies, but what I will say, it's definitely not the worst Halloween movie I've seen over the last couple of weeks. So, what about you guys?
Wow.
When's the first time you've seen it?
You go, Exilia.
So this was my first time seeing it. I knew that there was a movie somewhere in the franchise that didn't have Michael Myers in it. And I kept being like, where's Michael Myers? And I figured when there was 5 minutes left to the movie and Michael Myers had not been seen, that this was the one without him.
Now, I want to correct everyone. Michael Myers is in this movie. He's just on TV.
Yes, that is
right.
true. Yeah. Also, Connell Cochran's face right at the end of the movie, when it's exploding, it turns really white for a second, and it kind of does look like a mask. And I was like, I wonder if that was intentional or not. But yeah.
As for me, so this isn't the first time I saw this. I saw this pretty young. And, this was I'm a guy that works at a movie store prank. Because, I remember going in, I always loved Halloween. And him being I went in with a friend. We were probably only, 7 or 8. And he was basically just you guys, like the Halloween movies? And we're like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, rent this one. This one's the best, Michael Myers movie. I can't
trollery, really.
Yeah, the trollery. I can't really remember back then, whether I liked it or not back then. But over the years, I put this on, I don't know, every couple years. So I've definitely seen it a bunch afterwards. Halloween's a franchise anyway that I feel once a year or two I start at the beginning and I go through all of it anyway. So, this always makes my viewing. Horror hounds. Do you guys like horror music? I like horror music. Exilia likes horror music. We know Mike definitely loves horror music. So if you love horror music like we do, Join us on Spotify. We have a playlist up called the It Slays Podcast Horrific Playlist. We have some of our favorite tasty jams from some of our favorite horror movies, and we're always consistently adding to the list. And let us know. You can email us or Facebook or Instagram us and let us know if there's anything we should add to the playlist. So yeah, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this review. Favorite scene, Exilia, first time
oh my gosh.
First time watcher.
The pressure.
Your favorite scene in Halloween 3.
I do love the song, so whenever the commercial comes on, that's my favorite scene.
Exilia, the only person in the world that enjoys the song.
Okay, but here's my question. Did your enjoyment of it grow as the numbers shrank?
Well, I don't want to get into this until, like, the review part, but my enjoyment of the entire thing grew as the time went on.
Good.
For me, as long as it was always, like, one syllable, like a 1 more day or 2 more day or 3 more days, then it flows. But if it's, like, 7 more days, it doesn't have the same cadence, so then it's out the window for me.
I'll go next. There's a favorite scene's hard with me because I think there's a lot of great scenes in this. I'm gonna go against the grain because I feel like someone's gonna pick kind of the iconic scene from this. I really like the beginning to this, where it's not really like horror, but we get like, you know, the robots in the car, like, chasing the father.
Mm-hmm.
I just, like, love that whole scene. And then...
Robots in the car chasing the father.
Yeah, like, Cochrane's henchmen, which are robots.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
And at the beginning,
where the two cars
did we
roll
watch
together,
two different movies?
And I just love that, like, the music and everything. Yeah, that's probably my favorite scene in the whole thing. How about you, Colton?
I'm so torn because there's like 2 or 3 scenes from this movie I really like. I think when I was rewatching it this time, the one that kind of stood out to me was the lady in the hotel room, like when she goes like messing with the microchip and then like a laser beam shoots out and like melts her face. Like I had to write it down because I was like, man, I think this is like gorier than some of the other Halloween movies I've seen. Like, you know, the laser beam in her face, and the prosthetic is actually pretty good. So for just like a horror moment, I really did like that. It was kind of cheesy and like I was like, how did that happen? But yeah, that was fun.
That's so funny because my favorite moment, I was like, nobody's gonna step on this, and of course, naturally, you did.
Well, I can pick another one if you want.
No. But it wasn't even. It was like less that one particular part, but that was a part of it as a whole. I honestly just really loved any scene that had her, Marge Gutman, in it. I don't know why I was obsessed with her. I'm like, this woman is a serve. She's just giving me life right now. She's really like, you know, livening up this film. So every time, and then of course that scene happens and it's like, ugh, you know, so it is gruesome and like a bit shocking. So yeah, anything involving her was my favorite scene. Every time she gets on and like starts complaining and stomping around, I'm like, yes, oh god, I love her so much. Favorite character in the movie, hands down.
And, you know, for a film that I feel kind of, you know, the horrific scenes, there's really not a lot. Like, there's probably only, like, 3 main, or, you know, maybe more than 3, maybe 4 or 5, like, main kills that get, like, this film actually gets pretty gory, like you said, Colton.
Yeah, this movie's, you're saying there's only a couple of kills, but, like, I've rewatched the original and Halloween 2, and then, you know, obviously Halloween Kills, but that one has way more kills. But, man, this movie's, like, way more gory than Halloween 1 or 2. Like, they're just, like, the kid scene with the mask, obviously, where he turns into a pile of bugs and snakes and shit. Like, oh, that's great. Or, the head crush in between the 2 cars, I mean, nothing really happens, but, like, it does crush them. I was like, oh, okay, well, the implication of something gory happening is there.
Yeah, one, I mean, in this movie, like, you know, we actually just get, like, a drunk's head ripped off. Pretty much in full detail.
Yeah.
So, it definitely, you know, like you said, I agree, would go places that the first and and the second one decided, not to go. Usually I save it for a little later into the podcast, but I can't hold it any longer. To me, this entire movie is like the score. This is like probably one of my top John Carpenter scores.
I can't remember now. Do they use the iconic theme like basically at all in this movie other than the intro credits? Like they use it there, right? Like, or do they not even use it there?
No, they did use it, I believe, at some point at the beginning.
Okay.
I think it's only played, maybe. Like, I remember it plays.
But I mean, other than when
they're
watching the movie, actually, obviously.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't remember if it plays other than that. But, yeah, oh my God. And not just the score, but just, like, the sound. I was saying to Exilia, when we were watching it, like, I did notice, one of the, like, sound effects that Carpenter used in this is the same sound effect that he used in Christine, which is like one of my favorite Carpenter sounds, where it's like that piercing sound and then it like drops in tone.
Yeah.
Which to me, like when I hear it, I just automatically think about like Christine rebuilding herself, or like when the headlights come on.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and like they use it so many times in this movie, and it makes me so happy. But yeah, I really think this is yet again, I mean, most Carpenter films, but to me this film displays why Carpenter is like just such a good composer. Like he just kind of is in his element, especially where like he didn't really have to do anything other than the music.
I liked the score, and I liked it for the movie, but I wouldn't like just listen to it.
That's
like,
so funny because I was thinking tonight I have to get the score because I just want to listen to it while I'm reading. It was giving me like Escape from New York vibes.
Yeah.
When I was watching it, or like Terminator and like all those kind of like nocturnal sci-fi 80s movies, which
it's like a step above just the usual John Carpenter score of like the synths and stuff. There's like a technological or like a futuristic element to it that obviously goes right hand in hand with the movie, and we get that from the opening scene with the pumpkin where it's like being built like on the computer screens and stuff. Like I love that opening. I think it's pretty neat. So,
and to me that, I guess you don't really know till you see the movie, but that should be everyone's first hint right there that it's not your average
traditional Halloween
Halloween
it's
movie.
Like painfully 80s.
It's super 80s and
like sci-fi.
Yeah, super sci-fi, which is, just incredible in general. I think the only thing more incredible would be me and Exilia while we watched it had to look up the age difference.
Rowan
had to look up the age difference.
Well, yeah, we just discussed it.
I mean, by discussing, you said how different in ages do you think they are?
I just enjoyed that. I was like, he's like quite clearly. I was like, he's got to be at least like 50.
I mean,
he's pretty close to it for sure.
That guy didn't care how old anyone was.
That guy was fucking everyone in this town.
Yeah.
Well, I think like John Carpenter loves that actor too. Like I think he's in a couple of other of his movies, and he's always just like he's just like the manliest man. Like in all these movies, that is his role. I guess just like I don't know, being a womanizer and walking around rocking his mustache. That's like what he does.
And I mean, all respect, Tom Atkins, like horror icon.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I just think this is one of the funnier characters that are, like I said, I think it's funny because it's like every female we interact has like pretty much fucked them.
Every woman.
Yeah. And he's just like, what, like a drunk doctor, a deadbeat father, like an unfaithful husband, or like, ex-husband now, or, he's just like a complete like buffoon in this movie, but for whatever reason just all the women are throwing themselves at Tom Atkins for the whole runtime.
He's charismatic, you can't help it.
Well, that is true, I guess, but like
I definitely,
and I feel like that was the aesthetic in like the early 80s, late 70s, that kind of like a bit of a grizzled, bearded, older, like kind of Burt Reynolds style.
That is true, yeah.
Yeah,
Burt
the
Reynolds.
mustache,
He was my least favorite part of the whole movie. I hated the beginning of this movie because it was so, like, centered on him. I actually really started to like it after he wasn't, like, such a main focus.
I agree. I hate any moments in a movie where it's, like, just the man. Look, who needs man in a movie or anywhere, really?
What I'm curious about is Stacey Nelkin in the movie. Like, how do you guys read that? Like, this is like literally just spoiling the end of the movie, but like, how do you read the fact that she's like a robot or an android at the end of the movie? Do you read that she was a robot or android like the entire movie, or is it just when she's like captured? You do, or was it when she was captured in the factory? You know, she was killed and they made one. Because either interpretation just opens up so many weird plot holes that I'm not sure what they were actually going for.
I read it as it was one that they made because I always got pissed off at that huge chunk near the end where she's just gone. I was like, why am I still watching this again? Because it's like, I don't want to watch some dude, you know, like, doing detective work. Like, fuck that.
Escape his pumpkin mask.
Yeah, like, I was like, where the fuck is she? What's her name? Ellie. Like, where's Ellie? Like, all this, the huge chunk without her is so boring. And then it's like, you know, I just look at it as, okay, they need to take her out because they're, you know, replicating her or whatever. But, I mean, obviously I see there is an interpretation of the opposite of that as well. I just like that one because it explains her absence from the movie, other than we don't know that men in movies are boring by themselves, so...
I was gonna say, I guess I have what I think they meant to do and what I hope they meant to do. So my hope, and the way I kind of always saw it, was that she just always was a robot. Because the way I kind of looked at it is this guy died, this guy from this town or whatever, and no one actually seems to, like, know him or know if he has a daughter. They just kind of take her word that when she shows up at the beginning of the movie, she's like, oh, I'm his daughter.
That's the way I see it too.
And they're like, oh, okay. So I kind of, you know, my thought was like, all right, like Cochrane knows, and then she's like a plant.
Yeah.
Just to kind of scope things out.
Follow things, yeah.
It's a bad plant though, because like like what is the purpose of bringing like Dr. Chalice like to the village to basically like foil your plans? Like that's the weird aspect there.
But there's also like the movie at the beginning.
Yeah, there's also the whole thing of like, why at the end does she just stand by and let them pour like all of the whatever those are, magnets or medallions or whatever it is, like on top of them all from the rafters and just kill everybody? She just literally stands there and watches. So I don't know. It's just strange. I don't know. I mean, the movie's definitely not airtight, but that's kind of like, I'm not sure which way to go either.
Yeah, and like I said, that's my thing, because then if you're saying, okay, well, she got switched out, like you said, I mean, her whole mission as, like, this android would be, like, to protect this plan, and she doesn't do that whatsoever.
Yeah, she tries to kill him after the plan has already been basically foiled, right? Or at least all of her quote-unquote people, like if she's a robot or an android, were already killed, right? It just, I don't know, it's weird.
But then it's like, do robots fall in love? Maybe she was falling in love. We can just get all philosophical. We're not reviewing
Blade Runner.
I was the whole time you guys are talking, I've been thinking like Blade Runner. This is reminding me so much of Blade Runner right now.
I mean, the other reason that I like to think that she was a robot, like coming into the movie at the beginning, is because then it just really backs up my thoughts of, I'm like, this guy will literally fuck anything. Like, this guy doesn't care.
Jeez.
But yeah, I always think that's kind of funny if I think of it that way. And plus, I'm just like, man, that Cochrane, he really knows how to make him lifelike.
Oh, he was ahead of it. He was ahead of his time, yeah.
Now, I did want to kind of bring up Ellie, because, you know, I think this is kind of where I miss maybe more Carpenter influence on this film, because, you know, one thing about Carpenter, I think Carpenter always gives you like really strong like female protagonists, and I feel like Ellie's not whatsoever. Like, how long into the movie till she's just like, oh yeah, I'm basically just here as like this doctor's like sex toy, even though we're like my dad died and we're on this like detective mission in this town. She like
that's the thing. She really like. That's why I kind of think too. She was an android from the get go because she really like didn't. She was like, okay, oh my gosh, I'm here for my dad, and then it just was like never really overly addressed ever again, and she didn't really seem very upset.
And plus, she was. I mean, basically, it took like less than a day, and she's just like, all right, like now we're just going to have sex all night long. Less than a day.
It was like pretty much as soon as she met him at the hospital.
Yeah, she's very forward when he's like, oh, well, I can get another room. And she's like, well, where do you want to sleep, Dr. Chalice? So I got wrote down, damn, like in my notes, like, wow.
It's the mustache.
Gotta be, yeah.
Yeah,
I think Stacey Nelkin could do better than that. She's like a fox in this movie, so, doesn't have to settle for Tom Atkins, she could be more of a character than that, but, that's what we got.
I was gonna say, I guess as we, have started talking about it, we have kind of danced around it. So, we said Carpenter didn't direct this, so
No.
I guess, I mean, I didn't do a whole lot of reading up on it. I've watched, like, the featurettes on the Scream Factory release and stuff. I mean, from my understanding, it was kind of Carpenter just came back to oversee this project.
Well, from what I understand, and, like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Carpenter always wanted the Halloween movies to be anthology movies, didn't he? Like, he wanted each one to be focused on something different. So it was kind of like he was forced to do, or, they were pretty much forced to make a direct sequel to Halloween 1 because of how popular it was.
Yeah.
But then I think it was like, okay, maybe we can, fulfill the original vision for this franchise with Halloween 3. Like, have it not focused on Michael Myers, completely different, this weird 80s robot sci-fi movie. And then I would assume what must have happened, because I didn't look into the box office stuff, I would assume this one must have flopped. And then they were like, "Oh no, let's revert, let's reverse everything, let's revert it. We're back to Michael Myers for the fourth one." Like,
yeah,
like that must have been what happened. But I kind of do like the idea of just like an annual anthology movie of like that just happens to take place on Halloween. I really do like that idea. It's a shame that I assume like this movie wasn't met with great reception at the time, or it didn't fulfill box office receipts.
I like it as well, actually.
Yeah, well, and I said, like, I said after we were done watching it, it's just kind of funny how these series have all kind of wanted to do that and just never been able to, because, of course, that was the thing with, like, Friday the 13th, was they wanted that to be an anthology and not about the same thing, and just, the villains stick, and then you gotta make that money. Yeah, I know, like, Tommy Lee Wallace is credited as the writer. If I remember correctly, now, when we watched this yesterday, I didn't watch the special features again to refresh, so I should have. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, he's wrong, then maybe I am, but I'm pretty sure Tommy Lee Wallace had said that Carpenter kind of gave him notes on it.
Yeah.
And, like, did help him shape it a lot, which makes sense, because, I know they're friends, and I think he was kind of chosen by Carpenter to direct this. It was, he was like, I'm going to help you get your foot in the door and do this film.
Yeah, like, I think that's right. Like, John Carpenter's, like, if you look at the writers on IMDb, he's listed as one of the writers, but it's uncredited. So I do think it was very much like working with a close friend, kind of like pitching the ideas around, and I don't know, maybe like even took a stab, like, or reviewed the script or read it for him or something like that. So I mean, it wasn't a full Carpenter script, but he definitely was involved a little bit.
But I mean, in terms of direction, I guess while we're talking about the director, like, I thought, Tommy Lee Wallace was pretty competent, especially in doing a Carpenter impression, which, so many of these guys do. Like, when we reviewed Halloween 2, like, that was, who can we get that isn't Carpenter that can just make us a movie that...
Yeah. Halloween 2, I've only seen it like the first time in the last week, but it is like, when I was watching it, I thought it was actually directed by John Carpenter just because they emulated his style like so perfectly. So yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely good direction. I will say I like the vibe of Halloween in this movie. I feel like it doesn't get talked enough about, horror movies, and especially like, I always am surprised when I think about horror movies in general that, there's not that many that are actually set on Halloween or during Halloween. And this is one of those ones that, to me, like, the town everywhere gives me the Halloween vibes. Like, I love the masks. We're, like, in the stores that are selling the masks. And I'm like, yeah, like, this feels, this actually feels like Halloween.
Yeah, just how commercial it all is and how, like, all the kids want the masks and stuff, right? Like, you don't get to see that in a lot of these movies.
And the masks
I love the masks.
are incredible.
Awesome.
I love the ones when they go to the factory. I think they're a bit different than the ones that they sell in the store. They're in, like, a back room, and they're so well done.
Oh yeah, like when they go to the like museum or whatever of all the like the masks and the history and stuff.
Did those robot guys remind anybody else of the Matrix?
Matrix.
The Matrix?
Oh, I was thinking it seemed like something out of a Buffy episode, honestly.
Oh, they remind me of the guys from the Matrix.
Matrix prototypes, maybe.
Maybe.
Absolutely.
Now that you say that, Jeez,
I can see what you're getting at there. Yeah, I mean,
like dressed the same in suits. They look
suits and stuff. Pale skin. Yeah.
They're like just after people.
Yeah, and I also like, if I remember correctly, he kind of makes like a comment that even though they clearly have like a bunch of actors playing them, that Cochran like brings up a thing that essentially like I think they're supposed to be the same person, like they're just like a replica model.
Oh, okay.
Which
I may have missed that line. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I heard that because I remember kind of chuckling. I'm like, I like that it's obviously different actors, but he's just pretending they all look the same.
Or Rowan just made that up.
Or yeah, maybe I just, like every time we review something, I assumed something, and it's now a fantasy in my head.
You're really good at, like, revisionist
He is.
recounting of narratives. It's like, oh, I don't remember that, but you said it, so it must be true.
That's gonna be my my new sidecast where I just revise everything I watch
Based on assumptions.
based on assumptions that I have no basis entirely to do. I want to talk about the hospital. Let's have a hospital conversation. So we've already kind of brought up that this doctor is a raging alcoholic.
Oh, yeah.
So how many people are, going to get surgery and stuff done by this guy? I feel like the entire hospital knows that he's an alcoholic. When Ellie's looking for him, the first place they tell him to look is the bar.
Go to that lovely, beautiful bar, by the way. I was like, the vibe there is so fucking immaculate. I just want to spend all my time there, too. I get it.
I was very interested because it kind of gave me like that like Martin Scorsese bar vibe, like just kind of grungy, like New York, Boston bar. But then they just randomly have like the cartoon on TV. Like there's like just a random cartoon. I was just like, what kind of like bar is just playing these weird cartoons? Was it like Bugs Bunny? I don't even know what it was. Like it shows a picture and it's just like a plant just like blowing in the wind.
I have no clue.
I don't remember any. I don't remember what was on the TV.
I thought you were talking about the commercial row, and I was like, that's how commercials work, man. They come in and interrupt everything.
Never watched a television before.
Just always streaming, yeah.
I did enjoy how angry the bartender got, like, when the commercial's playing in the bar, and then Tom Atkins is like, can you change the channel? And that guy's just like, don't you have any Halloween spirit? I was just like, man, this guy is serious about his Halloween business.
And it is a business.
One of the glaring, amazing plot points in this, I think, is not just movie, but maybe sports history, anything. The greatest throw of all time, which is the mask on the camera when they detain the doctor.
That's a good one.
Restrained arms, perfect throw to hit that security camera at the
that was funny.
top corner. I also enjoy that we get that super cheesy, like, you know, in any modern movie it would be made fun of, but just the, like, you know, the minions notice something's wrong, but Cochrane can't be bothered with it because he has a phone call. Even though the security camera is, like, right at the edge of his vision, he's like, oh, leave me alone. I'm talking to someone on the phone.
Gotta make some business deals. Got some masks to sell.
Which is, to me, was kind of like a plot issue for me, because I was like, he's on the phone, he's like, you know, talking about business, where it's like, but you're also expecting, like, the end of times to be in, like, 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like, I don't really know what the whole scheme of these robots or androids are. I guess to turn all of the human race into bugs and snakes. I'm not sure. Like,
I mean,
I don't know. That just sounds like a pretty shitty world, just full of bugs and snakes. Like, what are they gonna do?
I would have loved them to explore a little bit more the meshing of the, like, technology with the witchcraft. I thought having both of those things taking place simultaneously was really interesting, but they just sort of, like, didn't explore it at all.
It's very hand-waved. It's like, oh, these microchips or whatever are from Stonehenge or some shit. Like,
yeah,
I was like,
all right,
man,
this is so cool. Like, this is a whole thread to the movie that you should be investigating here.
Well, for so much of the movie, I was like, why is this called Season of the Witch at all? Other than that, it's a great subtitle, right? And I was like, oh, okay, they mentioned some witchcraft with Stonehenge, I suppose.
That Stonehenge thing was so random.
Yeah, I feel like the Stonehenge, like, I only have a couple issues with this movie.
I only have a couple of issues with Stonehenge.
Which Stonehenge?
Stonehenge knows what it did.
Yeah.
I think the most I know about Stonehenge is from like a Scooby-Doo episode or something, or maybe it was DuckTales. I can't even remember.
I don't really get how they got that, like, huge stone there without anyone noticing, especially because Cochrane mentions, like, how difficult it is to get it. Like, he's like, do you know how difficult it was?
They also have to transport it to America.
They must have used the same methods on how they got, like, one of the rocks from Stonehenge into that weird house that looks like a church in Troll 2. So, because they had a piece of Stonehenge there as well.
Is there a joint universe here?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm starting to like this movie even more now.
Crossover movie when?
But
miniseries, maybe?
Oh my god, that would be incredible.
Just about the transportation of Stonehenge.
Oh my god.
What I thought was like a great, you know, 80s scene was when we get the reveal that Ellie is the robot in the car.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
Now, I will say, though, perhaps like a little drawn out, because they have so many fake, like, oh, it's done. And I'm like, you can do that like once, maybe twice, but they just like do it over and over.
They do it like 2 or 3 times. Yeah. It's like, oh, she has no arms, so she's dead. And, oh, her hand's ripped off, but now it's back. Or, you know, her head's gone, you know? They do it like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. And I just love the subtle, like, right before we know, like, the really great cinematography where you just barely see the arm attached to the door.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like in that panning scene. And I was just like, wow, like that's like an amazing setup.
That's cinema.
I was going to say, you know, we brought it up, you know, a couple times at the beginning, you know, for a movie with no Michael Myers, I think, you know, the sci-fi really worked. I think maybe they should have brought Michael Myers in, and we should have...
What, like Jason X?
Yeah.
I was hoping for just one mask, like just, you know, that Shatner white mask in the factory, like literally just like an Easter egg or whatever. Like I was just hoping for that at some point. And I've seen this movie a couple of times now, and maybe there is like one shot of the mask, but I'm always hunting for like... Because they have all the blank masks like on the walls and stuff too, right? Like the different pumpkins and the witches and, you know, whatever else there, the skull. And it's just like, come on, guys, you could have slipped in one white Michael Myers mask somewhere. But
yeah, and I feel like that was a kind of a missed opportunity because, like you said, like just something in the background. I thought what they could have really done to fucking spin the whole franchise into a fucking tailspin was have Michael Myers' mask with the Lucky Shamrock like microchip on the
that'd have been
back.
fun. Yeah.
Which I feel like, you know, I mean, obviously, like we said, they didn't, at this point, the idea was not to bring Michael Myers back. But I think that would have been like a cool thing, just, you know, so people were like, oh, fuck, like, maybe, you know, Cochran is behind all the Halloween movies.
Yeah, there's no way this movie would get made nowadays without at least a reference to that Michael Myers mask. And a movie like with a mask factory, you know, it would be in there somewhere, and I was missing it.
It's so ballsy, like, to center the movie around masks and just be like, nope.
Yeah.
We're not going to throw you even a little tiny bone you could choke on, like... As a matter of fact, we're going to show you scenes from the other movie as, like, a big ol' fuck you. Right?
That's a
like,
cardinal sin in my books, too, by the way. If you're making a horror movie and you put a better horror movie on, like, in the background that everyone's watching, it winds me being like, well, why the fuck am I watching this? I'd rather be watching the better movie. So... like, for future, you know, horror directors, make sure you put a worse movie on in the background than what you're making. Like, don't put on John Carpenter's The Thing or, you know, the original Halloween. Like, put on something else. Put on some, like, cheesy, schlocky one that you can do something better with.
Well, and I was going to say, I wonder, this has got to be, like, in the running for, like, earliest kind of meta awareness of, like, having Halloween in your Halloween movie existing as a film with like some serious,
I would say so.
Some serious bragging rights, because they when they're playing like the trailers on TV in the movie, they're like the timeless classic Halloween. I was like, I wonder how much Carpenter pushed for that to be said in this film. He's like, make sure you tell them that this movie's the best movie ever.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Let's talk about is it unsettling?
No.
No, I did not find it unsettling either. No.
Yeah, no. This is definitely not unsettling, I think.
All right, Mike, what do you have to say? I see your face there.
I mean, honestly, while I mostly agree with you, I feel like, you know, this movie is obviously fairly cheesy. I mean, everybody knows this. You can't escape that. It's, like, built into it, for God's sake. I feel like if it wasn't quite so cheesy, or if it was, like, called something else, they might have gotten away with it being a bit more... Like, I find the idea of, like, killing a bunch of kids unsettling, but the cheesiness sort of, like, takes the edge off of it, you know what I mean? And I find the, like, weird bugs and snakes crawling out of their heads to be actually, like, super... Like, that is an image to me that doesn't sit right, but... Like, honestly, that doesn't push it over into unsettling, but it almost does. Like, to me, it's scratching at it, but not quite.
Yeah, I think the ending, the absolute ending, which we haven't really discussed yet, where he's calling all the TV stations to get them to pull the commercial, and the fact that the movie has the balls to, like, end on, like, such a downbeat where he does fail, like, it doesn't get pulled from the final TV station, right? It plays in its entirety. And he just ends with him, like, screaming and stuff. Like, I thought that was a really good ending. Like,
it was very well done, yeah.
Yeah, and then, like, it also ends, I think, with the flashing screen, which is kind of how the movie begins, right? Because it flashes a couple of times from the Halloween logo to the screen. And I don't know, I was like, man, that was artfully done. And the fact that it wasn't, like, this heroic ending for this mustached dude, I was like, oh, it's a good ending.
You know, and you also get that kind of, if you have built some sort of relationship with this hero of the movie, although, like you said, I mean, he's not successful. I mean, the first thing you think about, or I thought about when watching it, is like, you're like, well, his kids are dead now.
Oh, yeah. Well, likely, you know, obviously, maybe they weren't watching that specific channel, but I mean, it's literally like 1/3 probably of everyone who bought the masks are dead, right?
We heard that phone conversation with his wife. His wife was like, these kids are wearing that mask for days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
She was like, fuck you and your 12-pack guzzling mustache.
Also, since you brought her up, I cannot let this moment go by without talking about how I fucking love Nancy Loomis, and I'm so glad she was in this, even if she was like that kind of, you know, nagging ex or whatever. Like, I think she's so perfection and is not in enough movies. And I just, like, every time I always forget that she's in this, in that small role. And, like, every time I see it, I'm like, oh, there she is, my girl.
I was going to say, and one other unsettling fact about the film is probably when you're going to solve these, mysterious murders and you're on this serious, detective case, maybe you shouldn't invite a guy that first instinct is to buy a 12-pack and, bring it with him. He's like, yeah, let's go figure out what's going on, but, I hope I don't forget my 12-pack on top of the phone here.
I love when he goes to, the liquor store in the movie, too, and he just shares his bottle with, a random drunk.
Oh, my God, yes.
I had to make a note. I was like, do people actually do that, or, used to do that in the 80s? It stood out like a sore thumb, especially in this COVID world, right? I was like, oh, no.
I was like, oh, my God, a stranger bumming a swig. What?
Yeah.
This is how watching movies is going to be from now on, now that we're all scarred from COVID.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, honestly, I feel like horror movies are going to help us, process the collective trauma. I'm just saying.
Wow, horror movies always save the day.
Yes, of course.
A lot of horror movies about people just sitting alone in their house forever. It's just like, wow, what a great film.
That's just called a documentary now.
Yeah.
Just a reminder to follow us on all of our social media at It Slays Podcast. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, soon to be on Tumblr. Of course, we're on Spotify and iTunes. And if you're adding us on iTunes, don't forget to leave us an iTunes review. It doesn't even need to be 5-star. We appreciate 5-star. But the most important part is we want to hear from you. So write us text review in the iTunes app, and we will make sure to give you a shout out on the podcast. Every review helps as it bumps us up in the search engine, and that's what it's all about. Back to the podcast. Well, are we comfortable going into rating it? I feel like we're not gonna make this episode crazy long. We've given you guys 5 episodes this month. Everyone's sitting here judging me right now. Is he gonna get all 5 out, or?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
It's coming.
Got 3 to come out this week.
You are a fucking machine.
That's
right.
right.
I have faith in you.
I will get it done. I have faith in myself. So, if you are new to the program, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. We will start with Colton.
Yeah, so I think this movie as part of the Halloween franchise, it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. If you kind of come into this movie knowing that Michael Myers isn't in it, or that this is the ugly duckling of the franchise per se, and just kind of treat it as an 80s schlocky horror movie, I think it's pretty good. I think it's entertaining. And I didn't mention the one robot knitting old lady. I love that. I love that scene. But yeah, overall for me, it's a yay. Definitely not a slay, but I enjoy it. It's decent.
How about yourself, Mike?
Yeah, I'm honestly gonna also give it a yay. Historically, watching it, having seen it fairly young, and loving all the other ones and watching them a lot more, and just having that spot in my head where like Colton said, it's the black sheep, and I don't watch it very often, and I haven't watched it in a long time, but when I was rewatching it for this, I was like, this is actually so well done. so much better than it should be. I think the direction's great, and we were talking about the music and the shots and stuff, and it's just it's fun. I mean, it's cheesy and it lags a bit in the middle, but honestly, I feel it's just a good time, and it's if you look at it as not a Halloween movie, it is even better. If you changed the name of this and put it out as something else, I would have been like, man, this is a really fucking solid little 80s sci-fi horror thriller.
It'd be a hidden gem, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's go to the first-time viewer, Exilia.
I'd say the first quarter of the movie I would give a hard nay, and then the rest a hard nay, and then the rest I would give a slay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Girl, I'm into it.
I was trying to think, are we gonna let her get away with just not giving 2 ratings?
I mean, I can do what I want.
Oh, jeez.
Who makes the rules?
If you take the average of an average of a nay and a slay, that's probably a yay, I would assume. But yeah I mean,
No, it's an A.
It's an A in a sleigh.
It was a hard nay. It was horses. Yeah.
As for myself, yeah, I'm definitely gonna give this a yay. I mean, you guys kind of said it all. This is the black sheep of the Halloween franchise, and I think if it wasn't pinned down by the name, just like Mike said, I think people would really, really like this. Like, I think we would talk about this as like a cool 80s horror movie.
It almost reminds me of like The Stuff in a way, but like good.
Much better.
Yeah. But it's that kind of
much better.
It's that kind of vibe.
Yeah, I think if you, for some reason, haven't seen this, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. And also, if you're marathoning Halloween, it's kind of a nice break.
Something different.
Yeah, like you get yourselves a little Michael Myers break. You only gotta watch him on TV. So, yeah, no, I think that's we rated it very equitably.
Yeah, for sure.
So next we will get into the budget game. So I know how much it cost and how much it made, and these guys will compete, and the winner's gonna get some Shamrock masks. And
sweet, I love the masks.
They can wear them.
Girl,
on
I knew you were
Halloween.
trying to take me out of the picture.
That's right. So let's start with what it cost. Exilio, what do you think the movie cost to make?
Oh God, $5 million.
$5 million, coming in hot. Mike,
$7.5 million.
$7.5 million.
Well, I'm doing like the Price is Right thing as well. I was going to come in at $10 million. So I don't know, a very narrow margin this week.
Yeah.
So Exilia's gonna take it.
Oh, wow.
She's the closest, so it cost $2.5 million to make.
Oh, they did a really good job with just $2.5 million. Yeah, there's loads of like the gore effects and stuff in this movie are great.
So yeah, definitely lower budget than I thought would be given. I wonder if some of that was maybe some of the shakiness on, you know, if they knew Michael Myers wasn't going to be in it, maybe they didn't want to give them any more money.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, I'd also have to look at what Halloween 2 did as well, right? I don't remember the numbers from last year when I listened to your guys' episode, but I'd be curious to see like if there was a steep drop in the box office or something.
Yeah, I probably should have looked that up, but I didn't because I'm lazy. So let's talk about what it made. Colton, we'll start with you.
Well, basically what I just said, there had to be like a steep decline in order to bring Michael back. I don't know. I'm going to go with like, fuck it. I'll go with $10 million again. It made $10 million.
$10 million, doubling down on that number. Mike.
Yeah.
I'll say 3.
$3 million.
Oh, God. All right.
$6 million.
$6 million. So Colton will take this. It made $14.4 million.
I mean, that's still a pretty good return off of like what, a $2.2 million budget, like you said. Yeah. 7 times.
Yeah, now I'm gonna assume the second one did okay, because I know from seeing like some of the special features and stuff, you know, the companies and stuff associated with this film said if they had known how it was gonna do, like they would have never taken Michael Myers away.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I take it this was definitely lower than they expected. And I mean, yeah, at the time they were probably worried that this killed a franchise, and you know, this forced them to bring Michael Myers back, and the rest is history. Then we got Resurrection. So
well, and Halloween Kills, which yikes.
Yeah, that's for another day.
Yes.
Another day, another topic. Hey, are you interested in becoming a horror hound? Then join us at www.patreon.com/itslayspodcast and check out everything we have to offer. We have cool things from podcast shoutouts to picking movies all the way to maybe getting yourself a free t-shirt. So if you're interested in joining us and becoming a horror hound, join us at patreon.com/itslayspodcast. So I think everything that is left is to announce our next movie. We're going to be leaving October and our favorite month behind, but we are going to be back with what I'm very excited for. This was my pick, and you know my picks this year have all been double features, so we are doing...
Torturing us all.
That's right.
I know.
We are doing Paranormal Activity 1 and 2, which I have never seen any Paranormal Activities.
That is a shame. Like, I cannot believe you haven't seen any of those movies. Wow.
So excited about that, and we will have Patrick from Every Horror Movie on Netflix joining us for this one.
Nice.
He has...
Applause.
He has hassled me all year about when are you going to do Paranormal Activity so I can come on, because I want to revisit it. So I was like, we have to do it. And yeah, so we will be back, or all of us, or some of us, I don't know. We never know how it works. We just show up, and whoever likes doing the podcast that day shows up.
It's like a drop-in party. It's like, oh, maybe you'll be here, maybe you won't.
Open house.
That's right. Maybe someone will just walk by a microphone and say hello. You never know. But yeah, I think that's everything. Thanks to everyone that kept an eye on what we were doing all for our OCTHORRORFEST. And, there's been lots of people listening, just celebrating the season with us. It is our favorite time. So I think that is everything. I am your humble host, Rowan.
Bye, it's Adelia.
It's Mike, see ya.
And I'm Colton.
See you later.
We're going to expand our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
From the prime time, yes.
Monmouth and Fletch.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal. We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.